Welcome, lovers of classical music. Today I bring you the incredible story of Schubert, the Austrian composer who, through his melodic genius, built a bridge between classicism and romanticism, creating works that touch the heart like few others. In this video, we will explore every corner of his life, from his humble beginnings in a Viennese neighborhood to his struggles with poverty and illness, along with moments of pure inspiration and friendships that shaped his path. Get ready for a narration full of passion, eternal melodies, and lessons in resilience. If you stay until the end, I will share a selection of the best books for musicians that will help you dive even deeper into the world of classical music. Subscribe if you enjoy the video and join me on this fascinating journey through Schubert's life. Franz Peter Schubert was born on January 31st, 1797, in Himmelpfarrgrund, a modest suburb of Vienna that belonged to the Austrian Empire. His father, Franz Theodor Schubert, was a dedicated schoolteacher from Moravia who taught children in a small classroom and supported his family through hard work. His mother, Elisabeth Weitz, originally from Silesia, managed the household, which was always full of life and challenges. Franz was the 12th of 14 children, although only 5 reached adulthood, as childhood illnesses were very common at the time. Music filled the home from the beginning. His father played the cello at family gatherings, and his older brothers, Ignaz and Ferdinand, played the piano and violin skillfully. Franz watched everything with curious eyes. By the age of 5, he was already trying to imitate his father on the violin, and soon he showed an absolute ear that amazed everyone. Not only could he repeat notes perfectly, but he also invented simple variations, as if music flowed naturally from him. This was the beginning of a vocation that would define his life. His father quickly recognized his son's special gift. At 6, Franz began formal lessons with him, learning the basics of the violin and piano. Ignaz, his older brother, taught him basic harmony, and soon Franz surpassed his family teachers. But Vienna demanded more for a talent like his, so his father sought outside help. He took Franz to Michael Halser, the chapel master of the local parish, who gave him organ and singing lessons. Halser was astonished and said he could only guide him a little more. Franz sang in the church choir, and his clear voice filled the space with purity that moved the congregation. But the family had no money for expensive academies. This became the first major challenge: how to nurture such talent without resources. His father persisted and presented Franz at an audition for the Stadtkonvikt, the prestigious imperial choir school. In 1808, at age 11, Franz was admitted thanks to his voice and skills. This changed everything. He left home for the boarding school, where discipline was strict but music flowed everywhere. At the Stadtkonvikt, Franz studied with renowned teachers. Antonio Salieri became his main composition mentor. Salieri saw great potential in him and encouraged him to write vocal and orchestral pieces. Franz also studied violin with Wenzel Rosischka and piano with Joseph von Spahn, who became a loyal friend. At 13, he composed his first song, Hager's Klage, based on a dramatic poem. At school, he formed a small orchestra with classmates and conducted his own works. One of these was his first symphony in D major, written at 16. Inspired by Haydn and Mozart, it already showed his gift for fluid melodies. Teachers were delighted, and one commented that the boy had something divine in his notes. Beethoven was also a distant inspiration, although they never met. This period shaped his foundation but also brought loneliness. He missed his family, and the scarce food weakened him. Even so, he composed constantly, as if music were his refuge. Not everything was easy. In 1813, at 16, his voice changed and he had to leave the choir. He returned home and faced financial reality. His father insisted he follow in his footsteps and become a teacher. Franz trained at a teacher's seminar and began teaching at his father's school. The work was exhausting. Noisy children, repetitive lessons, and a tiny salary. This limited his time to compose, so he wrote at night, sacrificing sleep. Here another conflict arose: his passion for music versus the need to survive. In 1814, he composed Gretchen im Spinnrad, a lied based on Goethe that portrayed a young woman's emotional turmoil. The melody spun like a wheel, innovative and deeply romantic. But Vienna didn't recognize him yet. Publishers rejected him because of his youth. Franz kept trying. In 1815, a prolific year, he wrote more than 100 Lieder, including Erlkönig, another poem by Goethe full of tension. His friends supported him, but money was still scarce. Vienna was the musical capital, but it brought both opportunities and frustrations. In 1816, he applied for a music director position in Laibach but was rejected. He continued teaching despite not liking the routine. His compositions grew. The Fifth Symphony in B-flat major was light and reminiscent of Mozart. Friends like Anselm Huttenbrenner introduced him to artistic circles. He met Johann Meyrhofer, a poet who provided texts for many Lieder and later became a close friend. But daily life was harsh. Franz left teaching in 1817 to attempt making a living from music. He gave private lessons to noble families, such as the Esterházys in Hungary during the summers. There he composed piano pieces in the Peace of the Castle. It was a relief but temporary. Back in Vienna, poverty awaited him. He lived in shared rooms and often lacked proper meals. Still, his creativity didn't stop. In 1819, he wrote the Trout Quintet, inspired by an earlier Lied, full of life and playful variations. These gatherings, called Schubertiades, became the heart of his social world. Friends like Franz von Schober hosted evenings where Franz performed his new works. Singers like Johann Michael Vogel passionately performed his Lieder. Vogel became his champion, promoting his songs in salons. At one Schubertiade, Erlkönig left everyone speechless. Franz improvised at the piano while applause filled the room. Outside this circle, recognition was scarce. In 1821, he published Erlkönig, thanks to friends who paid for the edition. He sold some copies, but it was not enough. He attempted operas, such as Alfonso y di Estrella in 1822, but theaters ignored them, preferring Rossini. Franz felt the competition. His deep and emotional music didn't match the fashionable taste of the time. He continued composing the unfinished symphony, number 8 in B minor, with only 2 movements. He began it in 1822 but left it incomplete. Its melancholic themes reflected his state of mind. In the early 1820s, Schubert faced worsening health and personal hardship. The symptoms weakened him, and the treatments of the time were harsh. Even so, adversity pushed him creatively. In 1823, while recovering, he composed the song cycle Die Schon Müllerin, 20 songs based on poems by Wilhelm Müller. The music flowed with tenderness and emotional intensity. Friends cared for him and Schober hosted him at times. During these years, he met figures like the painter Moritz von Schwind, who illustrated his works. Beethoven was his idol. He studied his sonatas and admired his strength. In 1827, Franz attended Beethoven's funeral, carrying a torch, an unforgettable moment for him. If you are enjoying this story, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing the lives of geniuses like Schubert, Mozart, and Beethoven. And if you want to dive deeper into classical music, check out the music books linked in the description. They are great for musicians and fans alike. Using the links costs you nothing extra but helps us continue creating content. In the 1820s, Schubert became an important figure in his artistic circle, even though wider fame still escaped him. His Schubertiades grew. Poets, artists, and musicians gathered to hear him. In 1824, he wrote the String Quartet No. 14 in D minor, Death and the Maiden, inspired by an earlier Lied. Its movements expressed fear and resignation with powerful contrasts. But his health continued to decline. He traveled to the Alps on medical advice, finding inspiration in nature for Winterize, another cycle of Lieder written in 1827, with 24 songs about a lone traveler in winter, symbolizing emotional isolation. The voice and piano carried intense dialogue. Schubert did not travel much. Vienna was his world. In summers, he visited the Esterházy family in Hungary, composing masses and piano pieces. His Mass in A-flat major from 1822 blended devotion with drama. He attempted premieres. In 1825, a musical society performed his Sixth Symphony, the cheerful little C major. He earned some praise but not enough income. His personal life was introverted and private. He never married, A youthful romance with Therese Grob ended due to social differences. Some historians suggest possible deeper emotional bonds with certain friends. Although nothing is known for sure, his shyness isolated him. He loved poetry, Goethe, Schiller, Heine. Many Lieder came from their texts. His Ave Maria, 1825, based on Walter Scott, became universally cherished. His purity touched hearts everywhere. But poverty persisted. He sold works to publishers for very little. Giabelli printed some. In 1826, he applied for a court position but was rejected. He continued composing tirelessly. The Ninth Symphony in C major, the great, epic and long with heroic themes. The orchestra found it too difficult, and it was not premiered in his lifetime. Franz dedicated it to a musical society that paid him a small honorarium. By 1827, Beethoven's death affected him deeply. He felt the responsibility of continuing the musical legacy. In 1828, he organized the only concert of his life, performing his piano works, Lieder and chamber music. It was a success and he earned some money. He planned more, but his health collapsed soon after. He moved in with his brother Ferdinand, feeling increasingly weak. Still, he wrote his final piano sonatas D958, 959, 960, profound and reflective, and the string quintet in C major with 2 cellos, a masterpiece of rich texture. He passed away on November 19, 1828, at the age of 31, in his brother's home. He was buried near Beethoven as he wished. Franz Schubert was not only a composer, but a poet of sound who captured the human essence in simple yet profound melodies. He transformed the Lied forever, turning the song into an intimate drama, and helped pave the way for Romanticism with his symphonies and chamber works. His story shows that genius can flourish even in adversity, supported by friendship and passion, and that true greatness often comes later, in the lasting echo of the works that survive. If you enjoyed this journey through Schubert's life, subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to keep sharing the stories of great composers. The best books for musicians are linked in the description. They are a real treasure, from Schubert biographies to guides for understanding classical music. Buying through our links costs you nothing extra but helps us continue creating content like this. Thank you for joining me, and see you in the next video.